He waits for her response, but she only says that even if he likes her, there's a complication. Haru trails off, clutching the strap of her bag which holds a small insect cage. The boy's face is filled with nervous anticipation. Haru Tamachi was given the nickname Alien by her peers. She was never without her insect cage. Often she would stand alone in empty lots, simply staring up at the sky. This nickname was meant to mark the girl who always seemed to be lost in her own world. The class representative announced their plans for the upcoming cultural festival. He explained that the main exhibition was still undecided and asked if anyone had an idea. Tamachi confidently raised her hand to offer a suggestion. The class rep, startled, called on her. Holding up her insect cage, Haru enthusiastically suggested frogs, causing the class to erupt in chaos. The class rep lamented that this was why their class had no unity. While he was worrying about his duties as class rep, his parents died. His parents were killed in a car accident, leaving him alone in their home. He never thought losing them would be so difficult to endure. He abandoned his festival duties and isolated himself for a week. Then he heard a knock at the door. Haru stood at his door, greeting him as the class rep. She had brought the school printouts he had missed. Haru bluntly asked why he wasn't attending school. He quietly asked if she hadn't heard what happened. Haru confirmed that she had heard about his parents' deaths. He sullenly acknowledged it. He bitterly asked what it mattered if they died. He told her she couldn't possibly understand how he felt. She simply stated that she could see the sadness on his face. Haru asked him why he was saddened by their deaths. He angrily grabbed her, asking if she was mocking him, which she denied. She reiterated that she saw no reason for him to be sad. He yelled back that he had to be sad, questioning who wouldn't mourn their parents. She told him that being sad was not what his parents would want. He was so struck by her clarity that he couldn't respond. He was unable to say anything back. In that moment, he ended up falling for her. He confessed his feelings to Tamachi and asked her to go out with him. And that brought the situation back to where it started. Haru stood before him in her true alien form. He asked in disbelief if she was an alien. She affirmed that she came to investigate this planet. She explained this was the second human confession she'd received, and the first person had run away upon her reveal. She pointed out that he didn't run. He questioned if it was okay for her to reveal herself to him. She explained that her work would be hindered if many humans knew her true identity. Haru declared her intention to erase his memory. She aimed a memory wipe gun at him, stating he would forget everything he saw. She reasoned that this would be preferable if they were to remain classmates. He shouted for her to wait. Despite the threat, he declared that he still liked her. Haru, surprised, called him a peculiar human. His friend Teru commented on how hectic the cultural festival was, but was glad it went smoothly. Teru sarcastically praised the great class rep, likening the role to that of a chore worker. The class rep told him to shut up, and Teru added that he also has a bad personality. Teru figured that his personality was why he was dating such a strange girl. The class rep asked how he knew, and Teru replied that the whole class knew because it was so obvious. Teru declared that the two of them would be the stars of tomorrow's party. The class rep realized with dismay that he was the one who had to organize it. Teru's girlfriend Karagaki arrived. She asked Teru what he and the class rep were discussing, and he mentioned the party. Teru invited Karagaki to the party. Karagaki refused, stating that she wasn't going and that no one would want her to come anyway. Teru waved goodbye as he and Karagaki walked away. The class rep was left alone in the hallway. At home, he mentioned Karagaki to Haru, admitting he hadn't heard good things about her. He reflected on how Haru became a freeloader at his house soon after they began dating. He couldn't bear to let her continue camping outside in a park, so he took her in. Haru explained that she talks with others as part of her investigation. He mentioned he was in charge of the party invitations. While chewing, Haru hoped the party would go off without a hitch. He asked her what she was eating. She held up a frog and casually answered his question. Haru asked if humans don't eat frogs. He explained that modern Japanese people don't, though she thought it was a popular food. While eating dinner, she called the dish a delicious cow corpse stew, and he corrected her that it's called beef stew. He decided to let her know a few other things as well. He told her that humans sleep with their eyes closed, to which she replied in surprise. He added that humans remove their clothes when they take a bath, which also surprised her. Finally, he explained that humans use the toilet one at a time, shocking her again. Haru quietly processed all the new information. Haru realized she still had a lot to learn about humans. She confessed that despite being considered an expert, she knew nothing at all. She admitted that she was the ignorant frog in this scenario. He told her she was being a huge help. Haru genuinely thanked him for his help. He was left speechless and blushing. The weather turned and rain began to fall. The class rep confirmed the party details over the phone while standing in the rain. He finished confirming the venue. He mused that in the end, Karagaki was the only one not attending. He spotted Karagaki sitting by herself at a park shelter. She asked if the class rep was heading home, but he replied that he was going to the party. Karagaki remembered that the party was scheduled for that day. He started to ask her something. He quickly changed his mind. She remarked on the sudden rain and noted that of course he would have an umbrella. He offered her his umbrella. He held out his umbrella for her. He explained that he had another one at home. She questioned if he was going to the party. He assured her it was fine since he was going home first. She confirmed that he lived nearby. He was taken aback by her suggestion. Karagaki suggested that instead of taking his umbrella, she could just take shelter at his place. While they walked under the umbrella, he told her not to get so close, but she countered that she didn't want to get wet. He questioned her about her relationship with Teru. She admitted that she was just fooling around with a boring guy like Teru. She revealed that she prefers someone like him, a man who belongs to someone else. He told her he would have a problem with that. She pointed out that he was dating the alien, the girl who eats frogs. He confirmed his love for the alien, stating he's not into carnivorous women. She thought she had a chance since he was willing to give her his umbrella. He clarified that he would have offered his umbrella even if she were a murderer. He admitted this was the kind of bad personality he possessed. He announced his arrival as they entered his home. Karagaki asked if anyone else was home like his parents, and he said no. Suddenly, Haru appeared at the door and welcomed him back. Karagaki stared, wide-eyed and speechless. Karagaki commented that despite his innocent look, the class rep was not so innocent after all. Haru turned to Karagaki and asked what she was doing there. The class rep began to explain that he had just run into her. But Karagaki interrupted him. Karagaki grabbed his face, announcing her intention to make a move on him. Haru watched from the doorway as the scene unfolded. He struggled, asking what she was doing and telling her to stop. Haru intervened, telling Karagaki to stop. She pointed her gun at Karagaki, telling her not to get saliva on her property. Karagaki coolly dismissed the weapon as a toy. Haru pulled the trigger, and Karagaki was obliterated in a gruesome explosion. The class rep was splattered with blood, his face a mask of horror. Haru remained calm, her weapon still raised. All that was left of Karagaki was a gory pile on the floor. Haru seemed satisfied, lowering her gun. He told her that this should be a lesson and to never do it again. He was still completely stunned. Haru, confused by his reaction, asked what was wrong. He looked between her and the remains, questioning the reality of the situation. While eating a piece of the remains, Haru told Karagaki she could return to normal. Horrified, he looked at what was left of Karagaki and asked Haru what she had done. Haru still didn't understand his distress. Surrounded by the bloody aftermath, Haru asked him if humans do not come back to life. He realized with dawning horror that humans cannot be brought back to life. He remembered how she had questioned his grief over his parents. He finally understood her perspective. Faced with this permanent reality, Haru asked him what she should do. Haru realized that if this was discovered, her mission would fail and she would be erased by her home planet. She resolved to bring the human back to life before that could happen. He was shocked to hear there was a way to revive Karagaki. Haru confirmed there was, but she would have to return to her home world. He told her to hurry, but she explained that she couldn't leave right away. She informed him that the next available time frame for travel was in 2 weeks. Standing over the remains, he decided they would conceal it. He asked if everything would return to normal in 2 weeks if they successfully hid it. Haru asked if he was going to help her. He stood silently for a moment. Haru thanked the class rep, looking relieved. He finally accepted that the alien classmate turned out to be a real alien. She was an alien who ate frogs and would erase someone's memory without a second thought. She was unfazed even when killing a human. Nevertheless, despite everything, he wanted to help her. He questioned himself, wondering if he really did have a bad personality. Haru reacts to a cut on her arm, noting that while it hurts, it's not a big deal. She explains that for her kind, such wounds heal almost instantly, which is common knowledge for them. Standing over Karagaki's remains, Haru comments on how hard humans have it, while the class rep is horrified by the sight. The class rep asks Haru about the weapon she used. Haru explains that the weapon is a material decomposition gun, which causes the body to burst from the inside. She nonchalantly adds that it's a common toy for disciplining children, much to the class rep's horror. The class rep points out that it's not something to use on a classmate, but Haru questions if his reaction is strange. She asks if it's so odd to get angry when someone tries to take something that belongs to her. The class rep is left speechless by her reasoning. The class rep declares that their first priority is to get rid of the evidence. He then realizes neither of them knows how to hide a corpse. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. The unexpected sound startles him. A voice from outside the door announces it's time for the party. The class rep recognizes the voice as Teru's. As Teru calls out, the class rep realizes in horror that the door is unlocked. Teru stands outside, surprised to find the door unlocked. He calls out for the class rep. He reaches for the doorknob, deciding to enter. The class rep quickly opens the door just enough to block the view inside, greeting a startled Teru. Teru complains about being scared, and the class rep apologizes profusely. The class rep tells Teru to go on ahead, claiming he has some things to finish first. Teru agrees and tells him to hurry up. The class rep closes the door, breathing a sigh of relief. He knows he needs to act fast and tells Haru to get a garbage bag. He turns around to find the gruesome scene has vanished, with Haru crouching on the now clean floor. Confused, he asks Haru what she did with Karagaki's body. She points to her bracelet and explains that the body is inside it. Haru explains the bracelet is a storage device that can hold objects smaller than herself. The class rep tries to calm himself down, while Haru explains the low risk if only he knows. The real danger, she clarifies, is if the murder is discovered by anyone else. She confidently tells him not to worry about it. Haru smiles, assuring him that as long as he keeps quiet, their secret is safe. The scene shifts to the class party, where their classmates are celebrating. At the party, the class rep uncomfortably wears a Master of the Day sash next to Haru. He observes that luckily no one has mentioned Karagaki's absence, deciding it's best to stay quiet. Haru whispers a warning about what might happen if their secret is discovered. Teru gets the party's attention to make a speech. Teru calls the class rep up to give a speech, outing his secret relationship. The class rep is handed the microphone and internally panics. He worries that any mention of hard work could lead to questions about Karagaki. The vice class rep, Hino Meisuke, offers to take over the speech for him. The class rep gratefully accepts, calling her a lifesaver. Meisuke takes the mic and begins her speech, congratulating the class on a successful festival. He reflects on how helpful she has always been. Meisuke gives credit to the entire class for the successful party. The class rep is troubled by the word everyone, as it reminds him of Karagaki. Hearing this, Teru slams his glass on the table and gets up. Teru abruptly leaves the party. The class rep reflects on the soured mood, understanding why Teru is upset. He remembers that Teru is dating Karagaki. The class rep sits with Teru, realizing the class has effectively ostracized Karagaki. Meisuke approaches and apologizes to the class rep. She praises his kindness, saying he dislikes it when people are ignored. She admits she can't be as altruistic as him. Meisuke insists that he is a great person. She cites his kindness toward Tamachi as an example of how he goes out of his way for others. Uncomfortable with the praise, he asks her to stop. She apologizes and clarifies that she truly respects him. He reflects on her words, thinking about his actions earlier. The memory of him bringing Karagaki to his apartment flashes through his mind. The memory shocks him, as Meisuke questions if he went too far in his kindness. Meisuke suggests that sharing an umbrella with another girl might be seen as cheating by Tamachi. She offers to take over his duties for the rest of the night. He tells her to just head home and get some rest. Meisuke walks away down the hall. Meisuke waves goodbye, telling him she'll see him at school. After she leaves, Haru appears with a huge bowl of popcorn. Haru quietly observes him. While watching a screen, Haru identifies Meisuke as a threat and flatly suggests they kill her. The class rep, looking weary, immediately vetoes the idea, reminding her of their no-killing rule. Haru questions his reasoning, and he explains Meisuke will return in 2 weeks. He argues that while kindness is acceptable, self-destruction for its sake is foolish. He concludes that the disappearance of Karagaki and Meisuke are two entirely different things. The class rep continues, stating that Meisuke is part of everyone. He reasons that her absence would cause problems. He doubts Meisuke would think he killed her, and Haru hopes he is right. Their conversation is interrupted by the chime of a phone. She reveals it belongs to Karagaki and is surprised to see a new text message. The text is from Teru Shirasaka, a name that startles the class rep. Haru reads the message aloud. Teru is asking to meet up now that the party is over. They discuss how to reply, knowing they cannot ignore him. The class rep decides they must impersonate Karagaki and turn Teru down. They settle on a simple reply, "Can't right now, sorry." The class rep is frustrated that it took them an hour to come up with that. After Haru sends the text, they wait, but Teru doesn't respond. Suddenly, the class rep's phone starts to ring. The call is from Teru. Haru wonders why he is calling the class rep's phone. Deciding it is best to answer, the class rep picks up the call. On the phone, Teru asks if it's a good time to talk. He prefaces his statement by saying it might sound like a joke. This prompts a sarcastic mutter from Haru. The class rep, annoyed, insists he is being serious. Apologizing, he asks Teru what's wrong. Teru's voice turns grave as he explains that his call is about Karagaki. Teru delivers a shocking statement. He suspects Karagaki might have been killed. The news hits the class rep like a physical blow. His mind races with panic as he wonders how Teru could have possibly figured it out. Haru, overhearing the conversation, calmly tells the class rep to compose himself. On the other end, Teru hears her and realizes she is with the class rep. Haru confirms she heard everything, and Teru agrees to explain the details. Taking control of the situation, Haru asks Teru if they can meet in person immediately. The class rep looks on, surprised. Haru proceeds to arrange the meeting. She hangs up after confirming the plan. After the call ends, Haru points out that Teru only said Karagaki might have been killed, meaning he has no proof. The class rep adds that Teru doesn't seem to suspect them. Haru then asks if he has finally calmed down. At the meeting spot, Teru begins by apologizing for his behavior at the party. The class rep brushes it off, getting straight to the point and asking about Karagaki. Teru explains that after the party, he sent her a message online. He had asked if they could meet up. Teru continues, saying he received a response. The class rep asks if the reply was strange. Teru confirms that the message itself was nothing out of the ordinary. The class rep then asks if the response was slower than usual. That, Teru explains, is exactly what is so strange, as Karagaki never responds like a proper human being. She either ignores his texts or replies with a threat to kill him, a fact that flabbergasts the class rep. Based on this, Teru has concluded that her killer must have responded to his text, a theory the class rep finds to be a wild leap. He suggests she might have just decided to reply normally for once. Teru then turns to him, asking if he knows something. Teru shows them an article on his phone about a local rumor where 2 high school students have mysteriously disappeared in the past month. He fears Karagaki has become the latest victim, but the class rep is skeptical, dismissing it as mere internet gossip. Undeterred, Teru declares his intention to find Karagaki himself. He plans to put himself in danger to force police action. He asks them to call for help when the time comes, stunning the class rep with his dedication. Teru admits that Karagaki has a bad attitude, but reveals that she is a genuinely nice person who was kind to him. This heartfelt confession seems to strike a chord with Haru, whose eyes widen in surprise. As they walk to meet Teru, the class rep firmly tells Haru not to use her gun. He insists they cannot solve their problems by killing anyone who gets suspicious. Haru offers an alternative, wiping Teru's memory. The class rep is wary, as her reassurance that the last person she used it on didn't die is hardly comforting. He insists they try to talk things out first. Haru agrees to try resolving the situation with words, but adds a foreboding, however. The class rep understands the unspoken threat. As they continue, they spot Teru waiting for them. The class rep questions what he will do if the spirited away rumors are true. Teru says he does not care and will not stop until he finds Karagaki. The class rep silently acknowledges his unwavering resolve. Moved by Teru's conviction, the class rep impulsively grabs his hands and declares that they will find Karagaki together. The sudden declaration surprises Haru. In his fervor, the class rep drops his drink. Haru questions why Meisuke would risk helping Teru, suggesting it is better to do nothing. Meisuke explains that if they do not act, Teru will continue searching for Karagaki, who will only toy with him. When Haru asks why he goes to such lengths for people, Meisuke gives his reason. He explains that his motivation is to create a place where he belongs. Meisuke elaborates that as someone without special talents, he can only connect with people by helping them. Haru reflects that she now has a better understanding of him, seeing it as a practical way of living rather than simple self-sacrifice. She then turns the question back on him, asking why he is helping her. Meisuke simply says he just feels like helping her. Haru points out the difficulty of helping Teru until Karagaki comes back. Meisuke confidently states that he has a plan. At an arcade, Teru asks Meisuke if he is sure Karagaki has an acquaintance there. Meisuke admits he is not certain, but feels a lead is better than nothing. Teru steals his resolve to find Karagaki. They approach a girl at an arcade machine, Natori, telling her that Karagaki is missing. Teru asks if she has any idea where Karagaki might be. Natori questions their relationship with Karagaki, asking if they are her friends. In a flashback, Meisuke explains to a confused Haru that the lead is a complete stranger who had been texting Karagaki's phone with late-night invitations. Meisuke shows Haru the text from Natori and explains that he and Teru will go meet her. Haru cynically asks if the plan is to wipe Teru's memories of Karagaki, but Meisuke reminds her they are not using any guns. He states that his true goal is to make Teru see reality. Natori asks them to clarify their relationship with Karagaki. Teru boldly declares he is her boyfriend, while Meisuke says he is a classmate. Natori asks if he is Makai, a name Teru does not recognize. Natori runs through a list of other names she associates with Karagaki's boyfriend, none of which are Teru. He quietly tells her his name is Teru. She repeats his name, clearly not recognizing it. Natori apologizes, bluntly stating she has never heard of him. Later, at a quiet pier, a somber Teru gets Meisuke's attention. Teru quietly admits that he somehow already knew. He clarifies that he knew she was not taking him seriously. He speculates that Karagaki is probably on a trip with another guy. He laments that he bought into the online stories about her disappearance like a fool. As Teru collapses in despair, Meisuke acknowledges that learning the truth hurts. Teru admits he will not know if he has truly given up on her until he can see her again. Overcome with emotion, Teru confesses that he was truly serious about her. He hangs over the railing in despair as Meisuke watches. Teru stands up and calls out to the class rep. He turns around and intensely demands that Meisuke hit him. The scene is quiet as Meisuke steps toward Teru. In a burst of action, Meisuke grabs Teru and a fight ensues between them. Later, as Meisuke and Haru walk away, she asks about the purpose of the fight. Meisuke dismisses it as a youthful ritual and reflects on Teru's earnest personality. Haru asks if Teru has finally given up. Meisuke replies that he is not sure, but at least Teru will not have dangerous thoughts like before. He adds that he is willing to endure beatings if it leads to salvation. Haru asks when Meisuke is going to get punched, but he replies that it is not okay to hit just anyone. Meanwhile, back at the arcade, Natori has a fleeting thought that the name Teru sounds familiar before dismissing it. Meisuke sits in the quiet classroom, thinking that it has been 5 days since Karagaki disappeared. He notes that Teru has settled down since their fistfight. All that remains now is to deal with her. After school, Tamachi, the class representative, approaches Meisuke in the empty classroom. From the hallway, Haru observes Tamachi asking Meisuke if it's true he wanted to see her. Tamachi tells Meisuke she feels indebted to him, believing he can do anything by himself. Meisuke quietly disagrees, insisting that is not true. Tamachi seems pleased by his response, saying she would be happy if that were true. An awkward silence hangs between them. Tamachi asks what he wanted to talk about. In a flashback, Meisuke explains to Haru that they have to mislead her somehow. Haru questions his intention to mislead her, and Meisuke confirms it. Meisuke explains that Tamachi thinks he brought Karagaki home to invite her to the party, which isn't a problem on its own. However, he worries that the truth might come out if she tells people. He wants her to keep quiet about it, without revealing that Karagaki has been killed. Haru suggests using her gun to convince Tamachi. Meisuke dismisses the idea, stating that since Tamachi is an honor student, they just need to come up with a lie. Back in the present, Meisuke tells Tamachi that their conversation is regarding Karagaki. Tamachi repeats Karagaki's name questioningly. Haru confirms from the doorway. Tamachi seems to understand. Meisuke asks if something is wrong, but Tamachi gets flustered and insists it's nothing. She then asks what he wanted to say about Karagaki. Meisuke begins his lie, confessing that he was having an affair with Karagaki. Tamachi is stunned by his admission. He continues, saying he would be in trouble if people found out he brought her to his house. He adds that he doesn't know what Haru would do if she found out. From the doorway, Haru asks Tamachi to keep what she saw a secret. Tamachi looks at Meisuke with understanding. She apologizes, leaving him confused. Tamachi apologizes, explaining that she feels he had to lie because of her. Meisuke and Haru are both taken aback. Meisuke tells her not to worry. She promises not to tell anyone, even without his silly lie. She bids him farewell, saying she will see him tomorrow. Meisuke grabs her arm, telling her to hold on. He insists that it wasn't a lie. Tamachi turns back and calls him a liar. She forcefully repeats that he is a liar. With tears in her eyes, Tamachi looks at Meisuke. She declares that her beloved class rep would never do such a thing. Meisuke is left speechless. She says she will keep her mouth shut if he tells her to. She reasons that what he did was probably for the best interest of the class. Meisuke is completely confused, asking what she thinks he did. Tamachi reveals a bloody earring and asks if it belongs to Karagaki. Meisuke and Haru are shocked by the sight. She explains that she went to his house after the party to thank him for his hard work. She says that he was not home at the time. She explains that the earring was lying by the entrance. Meisuke listens in stunned silence. Tamachi looks at him, putting the pieces together in her mind. With a gentle but serious expression, Tamachi asks Meisuke if he killed Karagaki. Meisuke is horrified, laughing nervously and questioning what she is saying. Suddenly, the classroom door is kicked open with immense force. Meisuke, Tamachi, and Haru are all startled by the intrusion. Meisuke recognizes Haru, while Tamachi seems to misidentify her as Tamakai. Haru cocks her gun, aiming it forward with a serious expression. In the chaotic classroom, Tamachi calls out to Meisuke and Haru. Haru prepares her weapon, looking on with a blank expression. Meisuke watches in horror, realizing what is about to happen. Tamachi cries out Meisuke's name in alarm as a nearby object is suddenly destroyed. A desk violently explodes next to the students. Haru calmly tells Meisuke to step aside. She declares her intention to silence Tamachi. Meisuke looks on, stunned by her words. Without hesitation, Meisuke grabs Tamachi and they flee the classroom. They sprint down the school hallway, trying to escape. A confused Tamachi asks what's happening and why the desk exploded. Meisuke struggles for an answer. He recognizes her confusion is justified. He tells her they just need to escape and he'll explain later. Tamachi agrees to his plan. She finds some comfort in the idea that they're running away together. Tamachi happily concludes that Meisuke must be on her side. She takes his hand, feeling relieved as Meisuke wonders how she was so easily convinced. He looks at their intertwined hands as they run. Suddenly, an explosion erupts right behind them. They stop and look back at the cloud of dust and debris. A figure emerges from the destruction, stepping onto the rubble. It's Haru, looking unfazed as Meisuke thinks the situation is insane. He realizes the school might be destroyed before they can escape and decides he must get the gun from her. A desk flies towards Haru. She shatters it with a single, powerful blow from her weapon. The force of the impact briefly stuns her. The gun slips from Haru's grasp and clatters to the floor. Meisuke seizes the opportunity, grabbing the weapon and pointing it directly at her. Haru questions why he's aiming at her instead of Tamachi. Meisuke insists he can't do that. Haru argues that they must dispose of Tamachi, who now knows about Karagaki's death. Overhearing this, Tamachi is shocked, exclaiming that Meisuke was only joking about what happened to Karagaki. Haru reveals that without continuing her investigation, she can't revive Karagaki using her planet's technology. Meisuke is horrified that she is revealing everything, while Tamachi is confused by the talk of planets and investigations. Haru then declares her intention to erase Tamachi's memory and aims another device. Meisuke yells for her to stop. Meisuke fires the gun, destroying the memory-erasing device in Haru's hand. The two of them stand silently in the ruined hallway, surrounded by debris. Tamachi stares in disbelief at the scene. Meisuke looks at the grotesque pile of flesh and blood that was Haru's hand. Her mangled hand begins to twitch and regenerate. Meisuke watches in horror. Witnessing Haru's horrifying transformation, both Meisuke and Tamachi scream in terror. They turn and run again. The regenerating Haru watches them go. They finally find a place to hide in the science lab, catching their breath. They catch their breath against the lab door. Meisuke hears footsteps approaching. Haru's face appears in the window. Still shaken, Tamachi asks what just happened with Haru. Meisuke finally tells her the truth: Haru is a real alien. Tamachi asks if he's known for a while. She is stunned that he was dating Haru, even though he knew her secret. Tamachi tearfully asks Meisuke why he is with Haru, wondering if she herself is not good enough. She questions if he is dating Haru simply because she's an alien. Or perhaps it's because he feels sorry for her being alone. She laments having to feel jealous of such a creepy alien. Meisuke interrupts, telling her she is mistaken. He explains that he is not with Haru because she is an alien or out of pity. He insists that it has nothing to do with it. The door bursts open to reveal a fully regenerated naked Haru, as Meisuke declares that he is dating her because he likes her. Haru thanks him, and Meisuke replies that he is happy to hear it. Feeling awkward about Haru's nudity, Meisuke offers her his shirt to wear for the time being. Tamachi asks if Haru can put the gun away, but Haru bluntly refuses. Prompted by Tamachi's insistence that something must be done, Haru decides she will erase Tamachi's memory. Haru challenges Meisuke, asking if he has another solution to the problem. She warns him that if he doesn't provide one, she will take care of the situation herself. Suddenly, Meisuke pulls Haru into an embrace. As he holds her, he tells her that he doesn't want her to shoot anyone else. Haru questions his actions. Meisuke realizes that emotional persuasion is useless, but his hug physically prevents her from using the gun. He internally urges Tamachi to use this chance to escape, frustrated that she is still standing there. Instead of running, Tamachi makes a startling request. She asks them to erase her memory. Both Meisuke and Haru are shocked by her words. She presents Karagaki's earring, stating that it's something she shouldn't possess. Tamachi explains that she doesn't want to cause any trouble for Meisuke. With tears in her eyes, she asks them to erase everything, including her feelings for him. Honoring her wish, Meisuke takes the device from Haru and erases Tamachi's memory. She collapses onto the floor. Meisuke confronts Haru, angrily questioning her lack of hesitation. Haru simply replies that it was what Tamachi wanted. Meisuke looks at the unconscious Tamachi and decides they should retrieve Karagaki's earring and leave before she wakes up. Suddenly, Haru collapses. She explains that she used too much energy regenerating her body. She weakly asks him to carry her. As Meisuke carries Haru on his back, he questions if there was truly no other option. Haru explains that to prioritize helping people, it's best to keep others out of it. Meisuke then worries about the destroyed classroom. Haru reassures him she's already fixed everything, noting that reconstructing inorganic matter is easy. Meisuke apologizes for shooting her and running away, but Haru says it was very characteristic of him. She calls him a weirdo for helping her, a killer, and also helping Tamachi. She then reveals she was testing him to see if he would shoot Tamachi if she revealed too much, but he didn't. Meisuke realizes this was why she revealed everything. Haru explains she thought that if he used the gun once, his reluctance would vanish, but she was the one who ended up getting shot instead. Meisuke asks if that's why she wanted him to shoot Tamachi. Haru leans against him and quietly admits that there was another reason: she was jealous. Meisuke is stunned into silence by her confession. Meisuke begins to laugh, realizing he has fallen in love with an incredible girl. Later, back at his apartment, Haru is resting on the sofa. He brings her a glass of water. Just then, his phone starts to ring. He is surprised to hear from the class representative, Teru. She sounds frantic and urges him to turn on the TV immediately. He turns on the news and sees a report about a university student, Yasuaki Yorikawa, who has been arrested for murder. Over the phone, a distraught Teru mentions reports of many other people missing online and her determination to save Karagaki. Meisuke realizes that just when he thought the situation with Tamachi was resolved, he is now back at square one. The news report states the police suspect brain damage from an external influence as the suspect's behavior is erratic and his drug test was negative. As he processes the news, Haru suddenly sits up, startling him. He asks what is wrong. Haru, looking intently at the TV screen, says she knows the man in the report. Haru reveals that the suspect on the news is the same human whose memory she had erased before. Meisuke is left speechless by this shocking connection. Haru recalls an incident from shortly after her arrival on Earth. She was roaming the city at night for her investigation. In the middle of the night, someone stopped her. The encounter took place right in front of the station. The man's confession was a strange request to let him tie her up. Meisuke is baffled that she would consider that a confession, though Haru thinks it was, in a sense. When Meisuke asks what happened next, Haru explains she revealed her identity and used the memory wipe gun on him. Haru states she does not believe humans are capable of killing their own kind. She explains that the gun is designed to shock the brain and erase memory. Meisuke theorizes that this causes a malfunction in human emotional control and rationality due to their weak healing capabilities. Haru simplifies the effect: the gun just makes humans honest. There are only 9 days left to bring Karagaki back to life. Despite a recent incident, school proceeds as normal since the victims were from another school and the culprit was caught. Teru finds their attitude heartless, but a student questions if he is any different. Haru quietly asks Meisuke if he would consider helping people that he has no connection to. Meisuke is left speechless by her question. Meisuke wonders why the bulletin board is so crowded. He is shocked by what he sees. The board is covered in missing person flyers for Karagaki. Both he and Haru are stunned by the sight. They find Teru, who admits he stayed up all night making the flyers, determined to find Karagaki. Another student is skeptical, suggesting the police should handle it, but Teru refuses to just do nothing. Teru explains that he called Karagaki's house, but her mother answered. When asked about the incident, her mother claimed she had no idea where her daughter was. He also asked senpais who hung out with her for help. However, they were not interested and even punched him for asking. He feels he has to be the one to find her. Teru believes he's the only one Karagaki has left. Meisuke wonders what to do. He hadn't expected Teru to go to such lengths, and Teru now asks for his help handing out flyers. Haru asks if Meisuke will fight him again, but Meisuke knows that not even broken limbs would stop the current Teru. He resolves to come up with a plan to make him stop until Karagaki returns. Meisuke's thoughts are interrupted when Haru points out another girl, whom Meisuke hesitantly greets. Suddenly, the girl lunges at Haru, grabbing her by the throat. The girl screams for Haru to die. She violently chokes Haru, who struggles to breathe. The girl continues her frenzied attack. The girl throws Haru to the ground. Meisuke and Teru watch in stunned silence. With a blush, the girl turns and wishes Meisuke a good morning. On the floor, a seemingly lifeless Haru weakly calls out to the class rep. Meisuke is frozen in horror. The girl laughs and calmly informs Meisuke that Haru is dead. Other students begin to notice the commotion. Students rush over, asking if Haru is okay and accusing the girl of the attack. A teacher arrives and tells the girl to come with them. As she is led away, she tells Meisuke she will see him later. Meisuke stares in disbelief, thinking Haru is truly dead. To his shock, Haru suddenly gets back on her feet. After the incident, Meisuke was suspended and taken home by her parents, while the protagonist and Haru faced no repercussions. Meisuke is distraught, questioning how her actions could be considered honest. Haru calmly replies that the girl was simply trying to eliminate a romantic rival without hesitation. Meisuke learns that the girl's memory was indeed erased. Haru explains that the girl perceived her as a human love rival and was satisfied after killing her once. Meisuke finds the situation ridiculous, pointing out that she likely doesn't remember anything about Karagaki either. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by the doorbell. Meisuke asks Haru if she ordered anything, but she says no. The doorbell rings again. Meisuke decides to see who is at the door, reasoning that someone under house suspension couldn't leave so easily. He assumes it must be Teru, wanting help to hand out flyers. He opens the door, confident in his assumption. He is stunned to find the girl, Meisuke, standing there in her underwear, greeting him. She asks him if he has had lunch yet. Meisuke is stunned to find Hino at his door, clad only in her underwear. She flirtatiously asks him to stop being so formal. She asks to be called Hino instead. She then offers to make him lunch, leaving him utterly confused. Hino enters the apartment. She and Haru, who is sitting on the couch, lock eyes in mutual surprise. Meisuke is equally shocked, wondering why Tamachi is there. Hino's expression darkens with rage, muttering about her failure to kill Haru. She refers to her as a resilient cockroach. She grabs a kitchen knife, determined to finish the job. Hino lunges toward Haru with the knife, screaming for her to stay away from the class rep. The room descends into chaos as Meisuke rushes to intervene, pleading with Hino to calm down. As Meisuke restrains Hino, she angrily questions why he only cares about Tamachi. Haru stands ready, declaring that she is protecting him. Meisuke tells Hino she isn't making sense and continues to plead with her. Seeing the situation escalate, Haru decides she will kill Hino after all. Meisuke immediately objects. Haru dismisses his concern, stating that making Hino disappear for a week is no problem. He argues that it's their fault Hino is in this state. Meisuke insists they have to handle this without killing her. Hino breaks free from his grasp. She charges at Haru again, screaming for her to die. Reacting instantly, Meisuke shoves Haru out of the way, taking the knife in his side. He cries out as the blade cuts into him. Meisuke collapses to the floor. Hino is struck with horror, realizing she stabbed the class rep. Haru looms over her menacingly. She coldly declares that Hino is dead. Lying wounded on the floor, Meisuke begs Haru not to harm Hino. He turns his attention to the sobbing girl. He tries to get her to listen to him. Meisuke desperately pleads with Hino, asking her not to kill Haru. He explains that he needs Haru's help with something right now. He adds that it is something important that he can't share with anyone else. He repeats his plea for her not to kill Haru. Hino's rage instantly evaporates. She smiles brightly and agrees, saying she doesn't want to cause him any trouble. Meisuke realizes her feelings for him have made her compliant. He understands that she will now prioritize his requests above all else. Meisuke understands that Hino's desire to love him has made her completely obedient. She cheerfully agrees not to kill Haru simply because he asked. Relieved, Meisuke asks for her continued support for the class, which she readily accepts. Hino pledges that she will do anything for her class rep. With the immediate danger over, Haru tells Meisuke he handled the situation well. Meisuke then asks if Hino's brain can be restored, and Haru confirms that it's possible as long as her cells are intact. Haru tends to Meisuke's wound, telling him to worry about himself first, noting that he could have died. She calls him a strange person for protecting her when he didn't have to. Meisuke insists that it was necessary. Meisuke explains that he couldn't risk what the unstable Hino might do if she discovered Haru was an alien, so his actions were the best solution. After a moment, Haru presses on his wound, making him yelp. Meisuke asks her to be more gentle. To his complete shock, Haru leans over his chest and begins to lick the stab wound. Haru explains that this is a method for healing those with weak regenerative abilities. She adds that she heard humans strengthen their bonds by licking each other's wounds. Meisuke quickly tries to correct her that the notion is not meant literally. Haru thanks him and he tells her not to mention it, just glad the injury wasn't serious. He grabs a piece of his torn shirt. She quietly affirms that she truly is glad. Her words leave him flustered. Teru greets his mother as he heads out. He tells her he'll be home late and reminds her to take care. As he walks away, she calls out to him. His mother asks if he has been doing anything strange at school recently. The question brings to mind the recent hostility he has faced, with his shoes and flyers for Karagaki thrown into a box. At school, Teru feels the contemptuous stares of his classmates. He internally fumes, wondering why it is considered strange to worry about a classmate. He recalls that the ostracism started when he began posting flyers. He stops in the hallway, lost in thought. His thoughts are consumed by his mother's question and the memory of Karagaki. His friend Meisuke notices his distress and asks if he is okay. While putting up another flyer for Karagaki, Teru calls out to Meisuke. He asks a strange question: did Karagaki really exist? Teru points out that it has been an entire week since the party. Teru laments that even though so much time has passed, not a single person is trying to find her. He half jokes that maybe she was just his imaginary girlfriend. Meisuke dismisses the idea as ridiculous. Meisuke tells Teru that he is just tired. He points out that Teru has been on edge for days and suggests he take a week-long break. Teru vehemently rejects the suggestion, worried about what could happen to Karagaki in a week. He speculates that even if the culprit is caught, there might be an accomplice. He fears she could be confined somewhere without food or water. Teru declares that he does not care how people look at him, he will find her. Meisuke asks if Teru is going to look for her after school, and Teru confirms he is. Meisuke then offers to lend a hand, surprising Teru. He reminds Teru that they are friends. Feeling a surge of hope, Teru walks through the city, relieved that he is not alone in his search. With the thought of his new ally, he thinks of Karagaki. He vows to find her. He is determined to find her no matter what. His resolve leads him to a large house, presumably Meisuke's. Teru rings the doorbell. Through the intercom, Meisuke asks who it is. Meisuke seems annoyed and tells him to wait a minute. Growing impatient, Teru rings the bell again, demanding to know if Meisuke is going to help him or not. Tired of waiting, Teru sighs and decides to let himself in. Meisuke protests from inside, telling him to wait. Teru opens the door anyway. Teru is met with a shocking sight. A shirtless Meisuke is being playfully wrestled by two girls, Haru and Hino. Teru stares in disbelief at the chaotic scene. Teru asks what they are doing before closing the door. A few minutes earlier, Haru had asked Meisuke if he was going to help Teru. Meisuke had confirmed they were meeting soon about the Karagaki matter. Meisuke had then asked why Hino was visiting every day, calling her a nuisance. He explained to Haru that it was safer to keep an eye on her. He mentioned that he needed to calm Teru down, as there was only 1 week remaining for the matter they were dealing with. Though confused, Haru had offered to do whatever she could to help. Hino taunts Haru, calling her underwear girl. Haru retorts, telling Hino to shut her trap. The two begin to fight, threatening to kill each other as Meisuke wonders what they are doing. Meisuke steps in, telling them to knock it off. As Meisuke tries to break up the fight, a strange, dark, dismembered substance suddenly explodes out from his body, scattering across the room and shocking the two girls. Meisuke stands covered in the grotesque substance, looking dazed. He apologizes to the horrified girls, explaining that it came out by accident. In the midst of the chaos, the doorbell rings. The girls wonder if it is the class rep, and Meisuke looks on with a stressed expression. Inside, Hino panics, declaring she has to wipe off the blood quickly. Meisuke watches, confused, as Hino starts wiping his face. He asks if she is not curious about all the blood, and she affirms that she is. Hino insists that the fact he is covered in blood is more important than its origin. Haru disgustedly suggests it must be the remains of an animal Hino ate, which she denies. Hino then tries to pull off Meisuke's dirty clothes, but he protests, telling her he will do it himself. As the doorbell rings again, Meisuke pleads for a minute, asking Hino if she is going to help. He is worried that Teru will see the mess and think it is a crime scene. From outside, Teru announces that he is just going to come in, causing Meisuke to panic. Hino frantically points out that there is still some blood on him. Meisuke tries to stop him, but it is too late. The door clunks open, and Teru enters, asking what they are doing as he takes in the scene of a shirtless Meisuke with Hino and Haru. Meisuke laughs nervously, claiming they were doing nothing in particular. He quickly changes the subject, reminding Teru of their plan to search for Karagaki. Teru looks at him intently, asking if that is correct. Teru's expression hardens as he tells Meisuke not to screw with him. Meisuke looks shocked by the sudden change in tone. Haru watches with a twitch. Teru retorts that Meisuke seems more interested in flirting with his girlfriends than finding someone else's. Meisuke protests that it is a misunderstanding and that Teru is being disrespectful to the class rep Hino. Teru insists he genuinely wants to help. Meisuke yells at him to stop messing around. Teru tells Meisuke that he has kept quiet until now. He says this is not the first time he has been made a fool of. He accuses Meisuke of treating everything as a joke and being the kind of person who can say embarrassing things like "we're friends" with a straight face. Teru accuses Meisuke of looking down on him and Karagaki as losers. He suggests Meisuke only tagged along reluctantly because he is the class rep. Teru tells him to forget it. He declares he will find Karagaki on his own. Meisuke calls out to Teru. He is met with a stern warning not to belittle people. Teru then turns and leaves, slamming the door behind him. Meisuke vents his frustration, wondering what Teru's problem is. Hino suggests killing him, and Haru asks if she should silence him. Meisuke immediately rejects their violent proposals. He reflects that he never imagined Teru harbored such thoughts. Haru muses that helping people is an act of looking down on them. She explains that it requires one to be more fulfilled than the person being helped. She believes it is precisely this distinction that allows humans to help one another. Hino angrily asks if she is calling the class rep a condescending jerk, but Haru clarifies that she is simply stating a fact about the nature of helping. Meisuke quietly agrees that Haru is right. Meisuke considers that Teru's departure might be a good thing. Hino agrees, saying that if she is not seen with Teru and Karagaki, she will not be suspected. She is confident Karagaki will return in a week anyway. When Meisuke asks how she knows, she cryptically mentions the thing they are dealing with. Meisuke thinks about how much Teru loves Karagaki. Meisuke concludes that Teru will be saved once he has Karagaki back. Meanwhile, Teru stands alone on an overpass, looking out at the city. Teru recalls Meisuke's earlier words about them being friends. He scoffs at the idea. He resolves that as long as he has Karagaki, he will be fine. In a flashback, a classmate is standing on a school walkway when someone calls out to him. It's Karagaki, and she asks for directions to the art room. He is surprised she knows his name, and she asks if he is in her class. He confirms they are classmates. The boy apologizes for not standing out much. Karagaki dismisses it and tells him they should go. She suggests they look for the art room together since they are both heading there. The boy, flustered, agrees. She then asks for his name. Back in the present, Teru is startled when someone calls his name. He turns to see a figure approaching him on the overpass. A disheveled girl in a hoodie and mask, who appears to be Karagaki, stands before him. She asks what he is doing in a place like this. A young woman approaches Teru on the overpass, and he recognizes her from the arcade. She introduces herself as Natori. She asks if he still has not found Karagaki. Natori mentions that she is also looking for Karagaki, wondering where she disappeared to. She explains that Karagaki is the only person who can compete with her in fighting games. Having established their shared goal, she asks Teru if he is free. Teru mistakenly assumes she wants to search for Karagaki together, but Natori bluntly says no. Instead, she tells him she wants him to be her playmate. The scene flashes back to an arcade where Natori had just won 10 consecutive games. She taunts Teru, telling him he really sucks. As Teru gets up to leave, he says he is leaving. He declares he cannot waste time and needs to find Karagaki, but Natori reminds him of their deal. She will only help if he can defeat her. Natori probes further, asking if he has the contact information for Karagaki's other boyfriends. Teru is silent, and Natori confidently states that she is his best shot at finding her. Her words fire him up, and he yells in frustration, while she calmly observes his outburst. After another loss, Natori offers him a drink from a nearby vending machine. She remarks that while he is pretty decent, he is still no match for her. Teru then asks how much the drink cost. Teru insists on paying for the drink. Natori dismisses it as no big deal. He explains that he does not want to take money from a high schooler. She reveals that she is actually a 21-year-old working a part-time job, leaving Teru stunned. Suddenly flustered, Teru awkwardly addresses her as Miss, which causes Natori to burst out laughing. She finds his sudden politeness hilarious. After her laughter subsides, she calls his name, her tone becoming more serious. Natori gets straight to the point, asking Teru why he is dating Karagaki. She tells him he does not seem like that type of person. She points out his blonde hair and earrings as things that don't seem to fit him. She leans in closer, gently touching his earring, and tells him that this look does not suit him at all. Teru is visibly flustered by her action. Looking at him closely, Natori observes that he seems to be forcing himself to be someone he is not. Natori shrugs it off, saying it does not matter and that people sometimes do things that are not very human. She then asks if they should continue their talk. Teru agrees, ready to explain his simple reason for dating Karagaki. In a flashback, Teru reveals that Karagaki was kind to him. She was the first classmate he could open up to. Because of this, he fell for her, thinking she was the only girl who would treat him that way. He even started listening to music he disliked just to chat with her. To keep her from getting bored of him, he dyed his hair and started wearing earrings. He remembers the pain of bleaching his hair and getting his ears pierced. He recalls that it was a painful process. The memory concludes with a heavy sigh. Back in the present, Teru and Natori walk together after their long gaming session. Natori reminds him that he never managed to win. She does admit that he has a knack for it and suggests they take a break. Teru then calls out her name. He hesitantly asks if they could meet again tomorrow. Natori listens to his request and pauses for a moment before responding. Teru is momentarily flustered. Natori asks why he wants to meet again. With a slight smile, Teru tells her it is because he wants to find Karagaki. Natori thoughtfully considers his answer. To Teru's surprise, Natori agrees. She says goodbye and tells him she will see him tomorrow before walking away. Teru quietly agrees as he watches her leave. As he walks off alone, Teru quietly repeats her words. He stops at the railing of the overpass, his silhouette framed by the large, bright moon. Teru waited at the park where he and Natori were supposed to meet. After roughly an hour with no word from her, he decided to try calling. His thoughts drifted to his mother, who also wasn't answering his calls. He tried calling her repeatedly, but there was no response. He began to feel that something was strange. He recalled an argument with his mother. She had questioned his frantic search for his girlfriend. In a fit of frustration, he had yelled at her. He hadn't seen her since that morning, and she wasn't answering his calls. Feeling guilty, Teru decided he needed to reconcile with her. He planned to buy her favorite cheesecake on his way home. 3 hours had passed, and Natori was well beyond late. Teru decided to try calling her one more time. Natori finally answered the call. She apologized and said she couldn't come. Teru was relieved, admitting he was worried she had been in an accident. His relief was short-lived as he heard a man's voice on the other end of the line, asking Natori if she wanted some water. Teru listened in shock as he heard Natori thank the man. When the man asked who she was talking to, she dismissed Teru as just an acquaintance. He then overheard suggestive comments that made the situation horribly clear. The sounds coming through the phone painted a vivid and disturbing picture in Teru's mind. Teru was stunned into silence. The call eventually disconnected. Without a second thought, he blocked her number. He realized this was the absolute worst possible outcome. He was struck by a crushing realization. He had used his search for Karagaki as an excuse to get closer to Natori. Now, with no clue where Karagaki was, he felt like the worst person imaginable. He silently apologized to Karagaki. Overwhelmed by guilt and shame, he broke down, begging for forgiveness. Later, Teru arrived home. His face was etched with exhaustion and despair. He called out for his mother but found the house silent and empty. He figured she must still be at work. Then he noticed the blinking light on the answering machine. He played the voicemail. It was a man named Yanai from his mother's workplace. The message stated that his mother, Shirasaka, had been absent without giving notice. Yanai mentioned that this was troubling, leaving Teru to wonder what was going on. The message ended with a request for her to call back. A sudden sense of dread washed over him. He frantically checked his mother's room, calling out her name. The room was empty. He spotted a piece of paper that had been slipped under the door. He slowly bent down to pick it up. As he read the note, his face contorted with shock. A wave of despair washed over him. The calendar showed it was October 10th. In a different location, a girl greeted a boy named Haru. Haru looked at a calendar counting down and remarked that tomorrow was the day. The calendar noted the time remaining until Karagaki could be revived. With just 1 day left, the girl yawned. The class representative observes the room, sensing a gloomy atmosphere that has settled over the students. He reflects on the recent, inexplicable conflicts that have arisen among the students. With only 1 day until Karagaki's return, he feels that as class rep, he can't ignore the problem, even if the cause remains a mystery. Walking with Haru in the hallway, the class rep wonders aloud what could be causing the tension when everyone had been getting along. He muses that things would be simpler if everyone were like Karagaki, Teru, and her. Haru agrees that the situation is strange. She suggests it's worth investigating. The class rep seems to have been anticipating her proposal. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted when Hino rushes up and clings to the class rep's arm. She cheerfully asks if he's heading home and proposes they walk together. Haru watches them with an intense, disapproving stare. Hino meets her gaze with a defiant glare. The class rep asks the two girls to get along, but Haru retorts that she will if Hino becomes sane, provoking Hino's anger. Trying to de-escalate, the class rep apologizes to Hino, explaining he has an errand to run. Hino protests, not wanting to leave. He promises to walk home with her the next day, and she reluctantly agrees. As Hino waves goodbye, shouting about their promise for tomorrow. The class rep laments that this is not how he wants to treat his classmates, while Haru remarks that he's getting good at handling Hino. Haru then asks about the errand he mentioned. He confirms there's a place he needs to go. While walking in the rain, Haru correctly guesses their destination is Shirasaka's house. The class rep explains his reasoning. Karagaki returns tomorrow and he wants Teru to be at school. He believes having an ally would make a world of difference for her, as she was already isolated by the class. Haru asks if he plans to tell Teru about Karagaki's return, but the class rep dismisses the idea, worried it would lead to his death. Haru questions how he will convince him. His plan is to tell Teru they're deciding on sports day events. He is confident that this will be enough to make him come to school. Haru finds the plan strange, but the class rep explains it's not about being on good terms, it's about Teru's character. He knows Teru would come if he thought his absence would inconvenience others. He says Teru has an oddly strong sense of responsibility. The class rep concludes that Teru is a much better person than he is. They arrive at Teru's apartment, but there's no answer when they ring the doorbell. The class rep worries that Teru might still be out searching in the rain. Haru tries the door and finds it unlocked. He asks in surprise if she forced it, but she calmly replies that it was open. Upon entering, the class rep is immediately struck by a foul odor. Haru asks him what's wrong, as he wonders what the smell could be. Haru comments on the sensitivity of human smell, having not detected anything herself. He wonders if the smell is from kitchen waste. The class rep calls out for Teru, but the apartment is silent. Haru suggests he may have just forgotten to lock the door. As the class rep remarks on how careless that would be, they both notice a piece of paper lying on the floor. Haru picks up the paper, identifying it as a written note. The class rep takes it from her. He examines it with a look of concern. He unfolds the crumpled note and reads the shocking message written on it, "I quit being a parent." His eyes widen in disbelief. As Haru confirms that it's a written note, the class rep stares in shock. His mind flashes back to a different time and place. He remembers a time when he and Teru were lying exhausted on a beach. In the memory, Teru thanks him. He says that with Karagaki gone, the class rep is the only one he can speak his mind to. The class rep then asks if Teru still has his mom. Teru replies that he doesn't want to worry her unnecessarily. Teru tells him to stop bringing up what he still has. The class rep admits he wasn't close with his own parents. Teru then confesses that with Karagaki gone, he probably wouldn't be able to bounce back. The class rep silently considers what would happen if he were to lose his own mother as well. The memory gives the class rep a grim understanding of the situation. Pulled back to the present by Haru's voice. He mutters Teru's name, his face filled with dread. A faint sound from one of the rooms catches their attention. The class rep slowly reaches for the doorknob and turns it. As the door clicks open, both he and Haru stare into the room, their expressions frozen in shock. Inside, they are met with a horrific sight. Silhouetted against the rainy window, Teru's body hangs lifelessly from the ceiling. A classmate who followed them screams in terror at the sight. The class rep rushes forward, frantically trying to free Teru's hanging body. Haru can only watch in shock, calling out Teru's name. The class rep desperately calls out to Teru, but Haru calmly informs him that Teru is already dead. Haru explains that his breathing has ceased. Stunned by her composure, he questions how she can be so calm. A desperate thought crosses the class rep's mind. Perhaps, like Karagaki, Teru can be brought back to life tomorrow. Haru, sensing his fleeting hope, immediately shatters it, stating that resurrection is impossible. She explains that Teru's body has been decomposing for days. Unlike Karagaki's, it was not preserved, making it impossible to restore. The class rep struggles with the grim reality, as Haru confirms that Teru will not come back to life. He is left in a state of denial. Teru's lifeless face on the floor serves as a grim testament to the finality of his death. After they called the authorities, Teru's remains were collected by the police. Considering their mental state, the officers only took a brief explanation and their contact information before letting them go. The next morning, the class rep walks to school by himself for the first time in a while. Haru had left early in the morning to return to her home planet, tasked with bringing Karagaki back to life. At school, he overhears his classmates gossiping about Shirasaka's suicide. They connect it to Karagaki's situation. The class rep sits at his desk, listening to their speculation with grim certainty. His mind drifts to a happier time, a memory of holding hands with Karagaki. He remembers them walking together while she laughed cheerfully. In the memory, Karagaki comments on how peaceful it is without a certain annoyance around. The class rep's present guilt intrudes on the memory, and he tells her that it's his fault. He believes that if he had dealt with the situation the right way, instead of just leaving him alone, this tragedy might have been avoided. Lost in his grief, he imagines Karagaki pulling him into a comforting embrace. She whispers that it's okay. For a moment, he allows himself to feel that comfort. He holds her tightly in his mind. The daydream fades, and the sound of his own sobbing brings him back to reality. He finally arrives at his front door. He enters his home and announces his arrival. He is startled by a familiar voice welcoming him back. In sheer disbelief, he whispers Karagaki's name. He rushes toward the room where the voice came from. He freezes in the doorway, staring at Karagaki, who is sitting there alive and well. He can only utter her name in shock. She turns to him with a bright, cheerful smile and greets him, welcoming him home from school. The class rep stands there speechless. Haru welcomes him back as well. His relief turns to confusion when Karagaki looks at him with a pleasant but blank expression and asks who he is. He waits